Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Bar Sham, Yahweh Shai, Bar Sham, Rakar Kadash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and Shalom to all for elect. Okay, this video, I'm going to delve into the all spoke of in the book of Exodus, 21st chapter. And through going through what the all was, what it meant, you can see and understand how, Lord willing, you'll be edified to see and understand why this law has been perverted by Esau, who today calls himself the so-called white man. Esau is a biblical man, one of the key biblical people within the world at this point in time. Well, going back to the foundation of the earth, he's one of the key people in the word, and he's a man that's hidden himself from the eyes of the people, and today he calls himself the so-called white man, okay? Because he had descendants known as the Edomites, who were, in turn, the word Edom goes back to the Hebrew word Lashwan Kodash word, Lashwan meaning tongue and Kodash meaning holy, going back to the Lashwan Kodash, which is the Hebrew, which basically in the Hebrew is Adawam, okay, which means red, okay. So the red people, okay, they're the only nation that actually named after a color. And today, funny enough, they renamed themselves as so-called white people, okay. But I can't remember the guy that actually came about with it in the 1700s or so. Basically, he was the one that came up with the name, calling themselves white because white denotes holy and pure, okay. But basically, that's those people, okay, and they're perverting this law. So I'm going to delve into it. It says Exodus 21:1. Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. If thou buy an Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. Okay, so this is how you actually meant to deal with a servant, a slave. They're meant to serve for 6 years, and then in the 7th they're meant to be set free for nothing. Okay, meant to be released. But Esau, being the devil that he is unrighteous and don't know how to, you don't understand, and it's not for him to understand, because it says the spirit that is in him is not upright in him. He's not made for righteousness, he's made for wickedness. He's made for this season that we're presently in, the time of evil, okay? So basically, that's why it's perverting his scripture. He ain't following how it's meant to be carried out. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. So if he came in by himself, he's coming out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. Okay, so if you had a wife when you entered into slavery and she came into slavery with you, then she's going out with you. All right. If his master have given him a wife, she have borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her masters, and he shall go out by himself. So that shows you that if the slave master gave him a woman, and the production of anything that he produced for him in that time, so the man brought forth seed by that woman that his master gave him, that belongs unto the master. And this is what Esau does today, because when you give birth in his kingdom, we ourselves, and it shows you how slavery never ended, it's been extended. When it was emancipated, it basically meant it was given from one hand to another. Basically, it went from being a thing where only the so-called Negroes were in slavery, being the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, but starting with the tribe of Judah, okay, to the point where now that all the nations are in captivity, basically, because they all became slaves by way of what? In America, you have the Social Security. In the UK, you have a thing known as your NI number, National Insurance Number. So that number that's placed upon you, and also you have another thing called Capitus. Uh, basically, let me try to find it quickly. Um, I believe this is it. Capitis Dimentio Maxima, where basically where you're when you have your name written in all capitals, basically that means your character is you've gone from free to being a slave, basically, and that's what's been done to all the people on the earth. Everyone's put into slavery. So when you're born, going to the original point, when you're born, you have a thing known as a birth certificate, and that basically gives certifies you as a possession onto the government. Okay, so everyone's been put into slavery. So guess what? When you have children, they ain't your children. They belong unto who? The state, the government. All right. So reading on, it says, excuse me, it says, and if the servant say plainly, and if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will go not out free, then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his heir through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. Now these two um, these two verses are key in this lesson. Okay, so basically, first and foremost, it says, and if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free. Basically, what the slave, the servant is doing is he basically is saying, look, I'm happy with my master. I'm happy with this, the lot he's given me within his household, and I don't want to leave. Okay, then this is what it says. Then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door and onto the doorpost. So the judges are basically gonna sanctify. They're gonna certify that he's a servant unto his master. Okay, and they're gonna bring him onto a doorpost, and his master shall bore his heir through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. Okay, so he shall serve him forever. So this is the same thing that Esau's doing in his kingdom. Okay, but he's doing it, as opposed to doing it with an RFID chip, he's doing it with a thing known as the earmark. Or Slovakia. What am I talking about, the earmark? He's doing with a thing known as the RFID chip, which is in the Bible known as the mark of the beast. Okay? But you can see this earmark is a plagiarization. Basically, it's the same thing as an awl. The earmark is a provision inserted into a discretionary spending appropriations bill that directs funds. No, that's not what I want. This symbol. This is point 2. It says, mark the heir of a domesticated animal as a sign of ownership or identity. So it shows what ownership to the master and identity as well. It identifies who they are. Now, the first point of that scripture that was read, it said, if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free. So this is with the RFID chip. In order for you to take the RFID chip, it says that basically they worship the image of the beast. Okay, the image which certain people said is Caesar Borgia. If that's the image, then everyone's got the mark. And then because many men that have come into this faith will believed in the image of Caesar Borgia as it being the image of the Lord. Okay, so if that was the case, if they worship that image, that means that they're more or less they've taken the mark. Okay, because that's the same thing they say as well. All right. Now going to the point. This is Galatians 13. What's that one? I'll scroll through quickly. All right, so it's Revelation 13 and 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Okay. So, one moment. Uh, okay. So, Revelations 13:14, and deceiveth them. Let's read Revelations 13:11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Okay, the two horns like a lamb represent the two governing systems. Okay, over in America you have the what's known as the Republicans and Democrats, but then going back to the time of Rome, you had the plebeians, patriarchs and plebeians, I believe. Okay, or the plebeians are shortened to plebs, were basically like the Democrats for the common folk, and the patriarchs. Let me just make sure I'm getting this right. Yeah, patricians, that's it, and the plebeians. Okay, and it said, and it spake as a dragon. The dragon's going back to the Roman rulership. Now, when you read in the book of the Maccabees, it speaks of how the Maccabees. It speaks of how Rome was a republic at that time, and how they had no king, but they appointed someone to rule over them once a year, and that's how it speaks of the dragon, because that rulership was not a rulership that was done. Democracy basically belongs to the image of the beast, which we're going to read into. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them, see, exercise of all that's why it said it spake as a dragon, and causeth the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, which is the Roman Empire, being reincarnated in this modern empire, whose deadly wound was healed, see? Because that same beast that was wounded before, when it when it was closed up, basically was healed and brought back. You know, it tells you in the later on in Revelations 18, if I remember correctly, or 20, where it says bound up Satan for 1,000 years. Okay, that's basically the release of Satan for a short season, and he doth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And really, that was done in the time of Yugoslavia, when you had the bombing at the time. There, we had nuclear. You know, basically they used the NATO and the EU used their firepower, and basically to put the world in in order before them. But then you had before that as well. America had basically showed their power in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. All right, with the atomic bombs. So, verse 14, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. Okay, so it says they were deceived, okay, by on the earth by miracles of the power he had to do in the sight of the beast. So that's how they gain their power, by the deception of the people, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. Okay, and that image basically is the whole governing system of this society as we know it today: democracy, okay, equal rights, um, homosexuality, uh, the LGBT community, basically, all these different aspects of Esau's rulership in terms of the mindset of how this kingdom is run. That's the image of the beast. So if you're in alignment with the image of the beast, if you love this system, then that basically segues into you showing your love by having a seal of approval put within your body. Okay, you won't mind that because at the same time, you have leaps and bounds being made in technology, which everyone is adhering to through their love of the image of the beast, which basically through that you have a thing known as the Internet of Things today, okay, where a lot of people, you get in a general conversation with people in public and speak about television, everyone's gonna say, I don't watch TV no more. They just go home and they screencast their phone or their laptop onto their TV, their smart TV, and they basically watch whatever programs they like or whatever documentaries, whatever they're into, they utilize that. Okay, and the next step basically is to make you, the people, part of that Internet of Things via way of the RFID chip, okay, which is gonna make, which the selling factor for now is that it'll make your life easier, but it'll come to a point where it'll be mandatory because of all the hell that's gonna break loose in this earth, okay? And he gave power, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So that's what it's gonna head to. Right now, there's life being given unto the image of the beast, but it says that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many that this is what's gonna come, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Now, that's why you have these different aspects of this society being tested out by the elites by a thing known as the false flag, okay, which basically is used to as a psyop, okay, a psychological operation to basically test the minds of the people and see how ready they are to take heed to the new world order, okay. So now my mind's running like 100 miles per hour. Excuse me, okay, but okay. So yeah, it's a site. For example, you had a thing with a Gatwick Airport, where basically what did they do? They had someone flew a drone, and then through that they turned around and said, look, we're gonna increase the distance that you're not allowed to near to a airport with a drone from 1 feet to 5 feet instead of, and the higher and whatnot. Then they're saying now that you have to be registered and licensed to fly a drone on any level. Now, there could be something greater. Me speaking on this small level that I can see anytime registration is needed, basically that's a way to keep tabs on the people so they know who's got what. And let's remember, these drones can be used for what? Surveillance, okay? And they give you a bird's eye view over any form of building. Now, we know in this day and age that they have, especially over in America, and I believe in England it's the same thing, okay? America, they're turning all the Walmarts into concentration camps, okay, internment camps. So basically, that could be an angle as to why they're heading towards the airports. But another angle also as well is the fact that you could have a false flag play out there, and they want to know how they'll deal with operations within the airport. Okay, because remember, an airport as well is known as a point of access and for exit and entry into a country. Okay, which is a great is of great importance. So there's many reasons why they can be doing that, but the point being is that these are all parts of the reason to really get people to take the RFID chip, being the mark of the beast. Okay, So it says, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. So basically, really, it starts with going back to the point in Exodus 21:5. It starts with what? If the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free. Now, how does that transfer over into this time, in this day and age? Like I said, it calls of all, both small and great. Anyone that would not take the worship the image of the beast should be killed. Okay, so basically, if your family, the circumstances are going to play out in the time of Jacob's trouble, basically it's going to be as to where you ain't going to be able to eat or drink, save you having that mark. That's why it says it, small and great, rich and um, rich and poor, to receive a mark in their right hand. And you can't buy or sell. So if you can't buy and sell unless you have that mark, that means you can't eat food. This whole society is based on what? Capitalism, buying and selling. So you ain't gonna be able to survive. So that's why it says, what do you think your family's gonna say in that time when this goes down? If you have a family, you have a wife and children, they're gonna say they want to eat, all right? And that's part of also that plays into it, the love of the image, saying that look, look, like just, for the sake of my family, I'm gonna, we're gonna take that chip, okay? Then the master shall bring him unto the judges, and he shall also bring him to the door, or the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through and all, and he shall serve him forever. And that's the same thing with the RFID chip. Basically, when you take that chip, basically you're saying that you're gonna serve Esau forever, okay? This is Revelations 14:9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man shall worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand. Yeah, look, said if any man shall worship his image. So if you worship his image, if there was a time before where we was worshiping Caesar, then that means we're part. This scripture falls on the head of us as well. But that's why it can't be Caesar, man. It's adhering to the system, being at one with it mentally, okay? And the same shall drink the wine of the wrath of the Most High Yahweh, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. All right? And the smoke of his torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiving his mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of the Most High and the faith of Yahweh Shai. Okay, so basically, that's the point. The all is a perversion of the RFID chip. If you love your master and you want to serve him, then what are you gonna do? You're gonna adhere to the system, and you're gonna adhere to the system, and then ultimately, when the RFID chip comes as a way for you to operate in it, as the only way for you to operate in the system, due to your love, you're gonna adhere to it, man. So with that, man, I pray you edified. Shalom.